Hey guys, welcome back to another great game of CDH. Also, have you heard the news? Your favorite CDH YouTube channel has released some cool merch. And if you're interested in picking up some sweet new apparel, come check us out. Also, if you like what you see, consider joining our Patreon, as with your help, we can keep producing the videos you enjoy. And if you want to play with us, hop on our Discord. We have an ever-growing community that loves to talk MTG or whatever else strikes our fancy. And we would love to meet new people. Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. Starting us off, we have Pixel, back on Captain Sisay. This is an adaptive combo deck that leverages the consistency and versatility of Sisay's ability to assemble one-card combos and find silver bullet stax pieces. That can stop a majority of the archetypes in the format. This deck aims for a quick Sisay tutor to either find stax pieces to lock out the board or tutor for infinite mana combos using a variety of legendary combo enablers. Next we have John, piloting Tymna Tana. This deck is otherwise known as Blood Pod, and is what's known as a Meta Crusher deck. It's a stax deck that is highly customizable to what you want to hate on. Its goal is to grind the game down and gain advantage, since you know what stax pieces are coming. Tuned to a specific meta, it can often hold the entire table down, but only if tuned properly. In the third spot, we have Hidden Planet X, on a new commander to the channel, Marneus Calgar. And while I personally don't know a whole lot about Warhammer, I do know a cool new commander when I see it. This is a mid-range deck that looks to combo quickly if it can, or prolong the game and gain advantage using its commander's draw and activated abilities. It also has the power to beat down heavily on its opponents if needed, and it runs a lot of Esper good stuff and has a lot of fun synergies with its commander. And bringing up the rear, we have Cedh on Thrasios Brewster, otherwise known as Dawnwalker Thrasios. This is a 4-color mid-range list that focuses more on gaining value off Thrasios activations, and wins using Grim Monolith and Dockside combos. Cedh's list is actually based off Comedian MTG's one, and if you're interested in learning more, I'll have the video deck tag linked in the corner. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Pixel starts off the game with the City of Brass, taking one to Enlighten Tutor. He already knows what he's going to grab and puts a Jeweled Lotus on top, but hands the turn over while he searches. John has a Verdant Catacombs and cracks it to grab a Savannah, shortcutting to cast an Esper Sentinel. Hidden kept an interesting hand as he plays an Ancient Tomb and then a Mana Crypt. He doesn't pay for the Esper Sentinel, as apparently he needed all the mana, as he takes 2 to cast a Talisman of Progress, a Talisman of Dominance, and finally a Fel War Stone. Having almost emptied his hand, he passes after that. Cedh has a Windswept Heat and cracks it for a Tropical Island, shortcutting to cast a Springleaf Drum, also not paying for the Esper Sentinel. Pixel draws his Lotus and plays a Prismatic Vista. He cracks it for a Plains and then plays his Lotus. He does pay the 1 for the Sentinel and then taps out to cast his commander Sisay. John has a Mox Diamond and discards a Gemstone Caverns. Then for 2, casts a Dockside Extortionist, which resolves and gains him 5 treasures. He uses 3 of it on his commander Tymna, and then sends his Esper Sentinel at Cedh for 1. And on his second main, he pays a life to draw off Tymna, and plays a Marsh Flats' land. He then casts a Chrome Mox, imprinting a Dark Confidant, and decides he's done enough and hands the turn over. Hidden untaps and is saved from his crypt. He has an Ottawaru as land and takes 2 to cast his commander, Marneus. He doesn't have a way of making tokens yet, but does have a Drannith Magistrate, although we wish he had casted a turn earlier. Cedh plays an Exotic Orchard as land, and his saddest commander is the only one not at the party. He has a Crow Mox, letting John draw off his Sentinel, and imprints a Vizier of Remedies. Following that up with a pretty spicy Rhystic Study. Pixel plays a Brushlands and activates Sisay. Although to his dismay, John responds with an Oppo Agent. He does crack his fetch for Badlands to pay for the Rhystic, and the Oppo Agent resolves. It is a little awkward to do this over webcam, but John starts looking through his list. Luckily for the table, the Drannith does stop him from casting anything from exile, as he could have grabbed an Emil from Pixel's list and caught an infinite mana on his turn. But John likes the sound of a Gaia's Cradle and decides to exile that instead. Unfortunately, Pixel did have removal, but only at sorcery speed, as he then casts a Kenner's Transformation on the Oppo agent, as he really needs it to be able to tutor in the future. John untaps and casts a Finhorn Elves, paying for the Ristic and following that up with an Avacyn's Pilgrim. He still pays for the Ristic and then heads to combat. Tymna heads at Sylvie, with the Dockside heading at Pixel. Both players can't block, and John nets 0 on life as he draws off Tymna on his second main. Hidden takes 3 from his crypt and is not sure what his next play is. He ultimately decides on a Dauthi Voidwalker, not paying for the Ristic, and heads to combat. Marneus is a large creature, and Hidden sends him at John for 6. Sylvie shocks in a breeding pool, but just leaves his mana up and passes. Pixel untaps and activates Sisay again. This time there are no hiccups, and he tutors out a Kataki's War's Wage, which he casts and pays for Ristic. John untaps and pays for Kataki. He then casts a Carpet of Flowers and gives a card to Sylvie, before heading in combat. He sends his Dockside at Sylvie, the Elk goes at Pixel, and he sends Tymna at Hidden as the Dauthi can't block due to Shadow. But unfortunately for John, he does forget about Marneus' other ability, which Hidden activates for 2 warrior tokens, which also draws Hidden a card. Hidden then double blocks the Tymna, and John's only consolation prize is killing the 2 off the lifelink. He then goes to his second main, and Hidden reminds him he can actually play his exiled Gaia's Cradle, as the Drenith only prevents casting spells. John then activates his Carpet for 2 white and casts a Sanctum Prelate. He pays for the Ristic, with the only other response being Sylvie casting a Resculpt on Hidden's Drenith. Sylvie does pay for the Esper Sentinel, and the Resculpt resolves, giving Hidden a 4/4 token, which triggers Marneus for another card draw. The Prelate then resolves, and John names CMC 3, finally ending his turn with his stolen Gaia's Cradle. Hidden pays for his artifacts and is safe from his crypt. He then heads to combat and sends the Marneus and the 4/4 at John, although he had totally forgotten about his warriors having vigilance. John then takes his 10, and Hidden is done after that. Sylvie pays for his Kataki tax and draws for turn. He then casts his own Dockside, and with no one responding, he gains 9 treasures. He then uses his Springleaf Drum and a treasure to cast Thrasios, following that up with a Chain of Vapor, targeting his own Dockside. He does give a card to John, and then copies the chain to balance his Sanctum Prelate. He then recasts Dockside for another 9 treasures, and then casts an Emil. This does prompt a response, as Hidden casts a Silence. He pays for the Ristic, but not the Esper Sentinel, with John responding with a Fierce Guardianship. And with this still in the stack, Hidden cracks his Dauthi to cast the exiled Resculpt to try and exile the Dockside instead. He lets Sylvie draw off the Ristic, with Sylvie following that up with a Flusterstorm, putting all the copies on the Resculpt. And unfortunately, the table is out of answers at this point, and the Emil resolves. He has the mana to flicker the Dockside infinitely and draw his deck off Thrasios, and then win with Thassa's Oracle. Game review. Well, that was a fun game. Hidden was really hoping to not see a Dockside this game, and what is luck, he got to see not 1 but 2 separate Docksides. And jokes aside, I thought everyone had a good game. I do feel bad, but every time Pixel brings Sisay, she never really gets a chance to shine. That Abo agent really halted his game plan, even if it only stopped 1 search. As for John, he got too greedy with his attack on Hidden, although I will give him the benefit of the doubt since Marneus is still new, and he didn't realize about his second ability. But after the game, he had revealed he had a Birthing Pod in hand, which would have let him combo if he hadn't lost his only 3-drop Tymna. But who would have guessed Sylvie would have just untapped and won? Heck, he even paid for his Kataki, and still had enough to combo with Dockside. But thanks to all the players, and I hope to see you guys later.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just wanted to let you know that we have a TCG affiliate link. And if you ever see a card you want to try or are inspired to brew something new, use our link when purchasing and we'll receive a small portion of the sale. This is a great way to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the gameplay, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.